In the late 90s, when the future had officially arrived with the Sega Dreamcast and we were still trying to figure out what the Matrix was, a game landed on the PlayStation that made me realize I wasn't the only emo kid out there. In fact, the protagonist was moodier than I could ever be. His name? Squall, ironically meaning a sudden storm, which perfectly fits his turbulent emotions. With a name that sounds like a Native American weatherman, he was the epitome of teenage angst. Enter Final Fantasy VIII. I dabbled in Japanese role-playing games, what nerds like you call JRPGs. Maybe not as extensively as some, but I did enjoy Chrono Trigger and played Mystic Quest, the JRPG on training wheels. I remember renting Final Fantasy III, or VI in Japan, and Final Fantasy I on the NES, plus Final Fantasy II, which is actually Final Fantasy IV in Japan. Not confusing at all. Eventually, I played the game that sealed the deal, Final Fantasy VII. It taught me the necessity of a game shark so I could hack the Matrix and snag some extra levels. As much as I enjoyed playing a skinny, blonde, spiky-haired Polygon, there was something about its sequel, Final Fantasy VIII, that resonated with my angsty teenage mind and stuck with me all these years. I recently unearthed a VHS tape labeled FF8 Part 1, but sadly, there was no Part 2. I did rip it for my gaming channel, and let me tell you, I was really bad at the game. Like, embarrassingly bad. Perhaps my brain wasn't developed enough, or maybe the fluoride in the water was hindering my ability to grasp the intricate layers of the Junction System. Or perhaps the Guardian forces were erasing my memories, much like how the main cast, outside of Renoa, seemingly forgot they all grew up together in an orphanage run by the main villain. Whoops. I was so clueless that I tried casting fire on Ifrit. Never used my R1 gunblade attack. Didn't realize I could draw magic from enemies, or even what magic was to begin with. I didn't bother playing cards, which I now know is the bee's knees and can turn a weak emo boy like Squall into a powerhouse, allowing him to one-shot enemies with his badass gunblade. These days, my strategy involves playing cards for hours around Balamb Garden, converting those cards into magic, equipping the magic through the Junction System, and profiting immensely. Oh, and don't forget to acquire Diablos and turn off random encounters, because leveling up is oddly detrimental in this game. It's like in the Elder Scrolls IV Oblivion, where too much acrobatics leveling could lead to a random mudcrab annihilating you since the monsters scale up while you don't. That being said, Final Fantasy VIII is the red-headed stepchild of not only the Final Fantasy franchise, but RPG gaming history. A game that tried something new and arguably stumbled. Apparently nobody at Bethesda played it, or they'd know that monsters scaling with you can, for lack of a better phrase, really ruin the fun. Quistis, my favorite whip-wielding instructor and all-around cool character. So cool she had her own fan club. Tried to make some moves on me, but underestimated Squall's emo defense barrier. She attempted to unethically flirt with her student at Makeout Point, conveniently located behind the training facility where a freaking T-Rex roams. Not only did she offer unsolicited advances, but she also had a knack for giving unwelcome tutorials. Thankfully, Squall shuts her down and tells her to go talk to a wall. He's just not into women like her. Zell's character boils down to being hyperactive and loving hot dogs. Selphie is bubbly, somewhat annoying, and obsessed with trains, a regular 90s Phoebe Buffet, if you will. Irvine is a wannabe cowboy who flirts with every girl he sees, channeling his inner Joey Tribbiani with a "How you doing?" The story chugs along for hours. Squall hits it off with Renoa. They share a dance at the ball. Squall becomes a seed. You can even cheat on your written exam by looking up the answers, just like real life. Then you all find out you grew up in the same orphanage but conveniently forgot about it because of overusing Guardian forces. Oops. Occasionally you pass out and play as Laguna, a hopeless romantic who wouldn't know if a girl liked him, even if she junctioned herself to his heart. He's endearing in a Forrest Gump kind of way, always earnest but a bit oblivious. Oh, and you get to go to space. Like Jason did in Jason X or Pinhead in Hellraiser Bloodline. Yes, Final Fantasy finally jumped the shark and took us to the cosmos. It's a romantic getaway where Squall finally makes a move, kind of on Renoa, but also accidentally ushers in the apocalypse by activating the moon, which apparently houses an army of monsters. So many, they form a giant line stretching from the moon to the Earth. Turns out the main villain is from the future, sent back in time to eliminate the seeds. Move over, Skynet. She's as tough as a Terminator, especially if you've leveled up too much. Seriously, leveling up is bad. Really bad. Don't do it. I still remember buying a pack of Triple Triad cards from a defunct store called Software Etc. at the mall. I still have them, along with every action figure they made. A fact that really impresses the ladies, as you can imagine. Yes, this game isn't perfect. In fact, it's probably mechanically one of the weaker entries in the series, much like Oblivion with its monster scaling. But that didn't stop me from enjoying it. I still regard it as my favorite Final Fantasy. Because like Squall, I had a storm brewing inside, but deep down I was just waiting for someone to find the junction to my heart. Honestly, and I swear to God I'm not joking, when I beat this game as a teenager for the first time, I legit thought that it was so good I could seriously die and be satisfied. That's how much I loved this game.